Good evening. At this time, we will go ahead and call our meeting to order. First, I want to say welcome to everyone who is here today. We hope everyone had a wonderful holiday, and it's just good to see everyone present. At this time, we'll have our pledge, a call to order by, our Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone will please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now have the roll call.
Maxine Drew.
Present.
Janie Humphreys.
Present.
Wanda Brownlee Page. Aldina Nguyen. Harold Brown. Stacy Yeager.
Present.
Thank you. Could I get a motion for us to approve the regular agenda, please?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda for personnel item.
Okay. We have a
For
motion.
clarification, that would be an executive session item,
I'm
correct?
sorry. As corrected, as amended executive session. Let me repeat this. I'd like to amend the agenda to add an executive session for a personnel item.
Okay, could I get a motion we had the motion to amend the agenda to add for an executive session. Could I get it seconded?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we amend the agenda to add an executive session. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. With that, we now have a letter that is going to be read.
We need to approve the agenda now.
As amended.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the modification.
Second.
The motion has been made and has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. The motion has been passed. We now have a letter of resignation, and I would like to read and share this with everyone present. To the Kansas City, Kansas Public School, dated November the 12th, 2019. Dear President Maxine Drew, please accept this letter of resignation from the Kansas City, Kansas School Board District 500 effective immediately. During my time as a board member, I have been blessed with the opportunity to grow, learn, and participate in hiring of Dr. Charles Faust, which was one of my most significant contributions as a board member. I feel the hiring of Dr. Faust is a favorable step toward the development of a culture where student achievement is a premium and staff teacher accountability will translate to the enhancement of high student academic personnel achievement. Additionally, he has assembled a roster of quality professionals that comprise his executive cabinet that are in alignment with his vision. I will sincerely miss of my fellow board members, Greg, Susan, as well as school administrators. The Kansas City, Kansas School District needs to change its acceptance of status quo outcomes, and the present leadership can make that change a reality. Good luck and God bless. Even though I will no longer be a board member, my willingness to support Dr. Faust will continue, and I can be of assistance. Please do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you, and may God bless. Mr. Harold Brown. I know. So therefore, after reading his letter, I need a motion for us to accept his letter of resignation.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the letter of resignation of Mr. Harold Brown. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. At this time, we will now have recognition and awards for Student of the Month recognition.
Madam President, fellow members of the board, it's my pleasure to introduce our Students of the Month. I'd like to start with from our Early Childhood Center, Sofia Moreno.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening.
I am Heather Turry. I am the principal at KCK ECC. I am speaking on behalf of Miss Katie Miller Lopez because she only likes to public speak with 4-year-olds. She submitted this about Sophia. She said, Sophia has been with KCK ECC for 2 years and loves school and her friends. Sophia is always a kind student. She is the first to help a friend in need. She is always present in class and gives 100% in all her work. She comes in every morning with a smile on her face and excited to start the day. Sophia is on track to have a bright future here at KCK PS.
Before we have her come up, I would just like to acknowledge her parents. Would you all please stand? Because we want to thank you. Thank you. And so would the board please come up and let's, am I correct?
Yes, if you guys want to come up and then.
Come on up. Right in the middle.
Oh, that's too cute. Oh, wow. That's incredible. Oh, wow. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yay, yes, yes, yes.
You guys want to go ahead and just kind of stay? Because we got more coming your way. Our next winner is from the elementary school. He's a second grader at Douglas Elementary. It's Joel Sawalha.
Jacket.
Beautiful smile.
Hello, I'm Miss North, and I am Joel's teacher, and I just want to say that this young man is an exemplary young man. He's the stuff that teaching dreams are made of. I have been doing this off and on for about over 20 years. I've just dated myself, and it's not often that you run across a young man who is just kind, eager to learn, excited to help his peers. He's a mathematician, so remember, you heard it here first. He often tells me, oh, Miss North, we are 3 minutes behind schedule. Oh, we are 360 seconds behind schedule. He keeps me accountable, and I would just like to thank his family right over here for giving us such a wonderful young man. Yes, please stand up. And if I may say one more thing, excellence runs in the family, because I'm sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but his sister right there, that's her picture. That's her Christmas, her greeting card. Yes. Thank you.
Wow.
Okay, all right, okay. Joel, you want to go over and shake it?
Oh, yes. Get that blazer. Get that.
Joel, go stand in the
In the middle of that blazer. It's a good smile. Yes.
Our next winner is from Argentine Middle School. It's Crystal Urania de los Santos.
Good evening. I'm Michael Lewis. I'm Crystal's math teacher at Argentine Middle School. It's a little bit short. Here we go. Crystal's incredible. She's one of our web leaders at Argentine, which means she spends a lot of time welcoming and taking sixth graders around, helping them, coaching them on Wednesdays. We have a class where they go in and coach them on different things that we do, the Second Step program, things like that. during football season, her and her twin sister Coral did a phenomenal job. Not only helping us with the managing and just taking care of things. Coaches, we are very scatterbrained, and they're always keeping us on track, making sure we don't lose anything. But she also did a fantastic job tutoring our football players. We'd have study hall once a week, make sure we're keeping our grades up, and Crystal was always going above and beyond, just like, hey, sit down, you guys got to get this done. And then she would take them through and help them with everything. In math class, she's a leader. She keeps us on track and is always pulling other kids aside, like, hey, I've got this, I'll help you with this. And just an incredible individual, human being. I'm very blessed to have her in class. So.
Ready? 1, 2, smile.
That's great.
There we go. And we had some of my thunder was stolen because our next winner is our high school, and she's also having her artwork displayed on our holiday card. So she's been also the winner of that, and that is an older sibling, as we have found out, of Joel, as Jennifer Sawalha.
Oh, wow.
I forgot to say she is from Sumner.
Hi, I'm Adam Clark from Sumner Academy. I teach Jennifer in the art classes, and so I'm also up here to talk about her piece. It was an impressionist artwork where we used a technique where you mix the colors on the canvas, not necessarily in your palette as you go. Jennifer is very talented when it comes to the art. She's got a great sense of humor and confidence that comes through in her art that you might not see right away when you meet her, but it's there and it's very strong.
You're making Christmas cards out of it. That's what we usually do.
Look at me, smile. One more.
Well, good evening. I am here to announce our November Employee of the Month winner, Miss Elizabeth Faircloth. She is our advisor for substitute services, and she also runs our leave program for the district. So recently, Elizabeth was made aware that one of the other school districts in the metro was claiming that they were the highest paying district for substitute teachers. And we know that, well, she knew that that wasn't necessarily the case, and she wanted to set the record straight. So she partnered with our communications team to spotlight KCKPS for some media coverage, and was able to not only set the record straight, but also leverage that opportunity to talk about our substitute program for staffing and for teachers, and also a pop-up recruiting job fair event that we did for substitute teachers. And then again, she partnered with our recruiting and communications team to execute that event, which was very successful. We hired 20 substitutes in 2 hours. And then we also had 2 of the local media TV channels come to that event and provide some very positive coverage for the district. So we thank you for your excellence.
Yes.
Congratulations.
All right, Liz. Very deserved. So we're gonna have
One, two, smile.
There you go.
We'd also like to take this opportunity, and I'll pinch hit for this, to recognize our Parents as Teachers programs. They are a Blue Ribbon affiliate, and if we could have the members of that team please come to the front.
Hello, I'm Jackie Hempel. I'm the Parents as Teachers Coordinator for the district. We have about a little less than half of our parent educators here tonight. Some are actually on home visits. We're very proud of our team here of parent educators. We've got 17 parent educators, 10 of which speak more than one language. So we're very fortunate in that. And they provide parent education to families expecting a child and up to age starting kindergarten. So with that parent education, they go on home visits, morning, afternoon, evening, weekends, for about an hour, once or twice a month with families. And they provide parent education, developmental screenings, social emotional screenings, hearing and vision screenings, and quite a few other assessments. Our goal is to help parents be their child's first and most influential teacher and to help them get a good start in school. Through those screenings, we try to catch any delays early and refer to any particular service that might be of most help, like infant toddler services. And we also partner with a lot of other community resources, including the medical community and mental health. We have a special grant we're working on so that we partner with those groups and, again, just getting the kids, make sure they're all getting their well child checks and immunizations and that the parents are getting any mental health resources they need. We also have group connections and playgroups. If you come in the second floor and you see the little room, we have playgroups there a couple times a week. And we have group connections at least monthly, which we have one Monday evening, right? Winterfest next Monday. We usually have about 100 people come to that. So last year we served 333 families, 400 children, and made over 3,400 home visits. And we had 90 group connections. The award that we received, Blue Ribbon Award, is accreditation for the highest quality service of parents as teachers. Right. So we were really excited. It was a lot of hard work, but they did a great job. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to say congratulations to you all and thank you for the work that you do. And we expect even greater work in the future. Thank you.
Madam President, always a pleasure to meet with you all when you come to Topeka, because it's always nice to see a friendly face from home. So thank you again.
Okay, at this time, we will have our fall sports student athlete recognition.
Madam Chair, Board, and Superintendent Faust. I'm going to put my glasses on because there's a long list of names here. My name is Tammy Romstead. I'm your District Athletic Director, and I'm here tonight to introduce to you and to recognize our student athletes that were either league champions, team league champions, or first team all-league selection. I'm going to start off with a few facts about athletics at Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools. We had 746 student athletes participating in our 2019 fall sports, which included boys and girls cross country, volleyball, girls tennis, boys soccer, and football. Each of those 746 students participated on an average of 200 hours of practice and competition outside of their school day and their studies to represent Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools at 278 different occasions throughout the state of Kansas this fall. In addition, almost 90% of these 746 student athletes had no Fs, maintained their academic eligibility to compete in postseason play. Of those 746 student athletes, 125 were selected to the Kansas City Atchison League as either a first team, second team, or honorable mention. I'd like to say that these students that you see tonight that are here and the teams that are represented are definitely on track.
Amen.
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and let them come across. I do want to mention that tonight,
Just wait.
tonight, we have several student athletes that are competing in winter sports that couldn't be here tonight, and we have several that are working or taking care of some family members now that their seasons are over. So I'm going to go ahead, though, and read the selection. So what we have here is the first team, our cross country, our girls cross country, the league champions of Sumner Academy. The head coach is here tonight, Jason J. This year's team finished in the top 5 as a team in every meet. The Lady Sabres won this year's championship by taking 4 out of the top 5 places and 5 out of the top 8 places. That's it. Well, I'm not there. The team is largely made up of underclassmen, so the future is bright for women's cross country at Sumner. Those ladies, many of them that are listed up here, are not here tonight because they are competing. Judith Garcia from Sumner, Tatiana Blond from Sumner, Lydia Polson from Sumner, Casey Pugh from Sumner, Suzanne Schmidt from Sumner, Abigail Zuniga from Wyandotte, and Pamela Parra from Wyandotte. We also have up front our 2019 boys cross country league champions from Schlegel High School. So head coach is George Robinson. This year's Schlegel cross-country team was small in numbers but big with success. This team placed 4 out of the 5 runners at the league meet to become the league champions the first time in 23 years. Oh, wow. Yeah. So, as I announce your name, guys, step forward. Our first team all-league selections are Daniel Stilwell from Schlegel, Jonah Andrews, Schlegel, Jose Ogwin, Schlegel, Kelvin Bell, Sumner, Diego Ramos Solis, Sumner, Victor Lozano, Wyandotte, Carlos Castro de Santiago, Wyandotte. Okay, Coach, would you start up here? At this time, we'll let the board come out and we'll let you guys shake hands, follow this way, and then we'll take a picture with the board. Well, let me hand, that's all right.
Okay, everyone turn this way. Take a picture of the board.
Turn this way. Face this way, guys. Did you shake hands? Follow the line. Follow the line. It's all right. All right, now you can stand in the picture with the board. Maybe on both sides or some down in front. Come down on this front piece. Right, very bottom, right there. There you go. All right. There you go. Come down to the front. Come all the way down the front. There you go. Come down one more, Coach. There you go.
Ready? 1, 2, smile this way. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, guys. You guys just go across the front. Well, we did not snag a league championship in volleyball. We were blessed with the Coach of the Year. Whoa. That Coach of the Year is Kaylee Yessa from Sumner. And our first team all-league, ladies, please step forward and let them know who you are. Bo Yang, Wyandotte. Tanya Lopez, Harmon. Aaliyah Green, Schlegel. Kennedy Thompson, Sumner. And Paige Salas, Sumner. All righty, let's go ahead and back up. Or you can stay right here. We'll just take a picture if you guys want to step forward. There you go.
This way, smile. Thank you.
Okay, make sure you shake hands. So just the coach and 2. All right, 2019 Boys Soccer League champions, Harmon High School. Captains representing Harmon tonight are Kevin Alvarado, Anthony Pletez, and the coach of the year, David Bean. Harmon went undefeated in league play this year with 9 wins and 1 draw. The team scored 45 goals while giving up only 8. Harmon had 15 players register and assist and 16 that scored a goal throughout the season. First team all-league candidates. First team, Dom Alvarado, Harmon. Step forward. Omar Avila, Harmon. Anthea Pletez, Harmon. Van Thang, Washington. Ling Thang, Washington. Brian Guzman Bastillos, Wyandotte. Jacarius Adam, Wyandotte. Victor Monterosa, Sumner. Alex Perez, Sumner. And Sergio Moreno, Schlegel. Shake hands. Would you follow this way? Shake hands, and then we'll take a team picture. Player of the year was Kevin Alvarado Flores.
Yeah.
And the goalkeeper of the year, Julio Coronado from Sumner. You thought I forgot you, didn't I?
I was going to tell you, you left him out.
I saw him go by me.
I know.
You two in the back. You two in the back. There we go. Everyone look this way.
Oh, how sweet.
Wow. One more. Thank you.
To the back. Last but not least, where are they? Here they are.
Yes.
You go ahead and come across. Our 2019 Football League champions, Washington High School. Captains representing Washington tonight are Taiwan Maturi, Thomas Anderson, Corey Macon, Dominic Jacobs, Romaine Curry, and Willie Fields. And the coach of the year, Cameron Smith. After a 6-year wait, the Washington Wildcats won their 13th KCAL title. They led the league in scoring, passing yards, rushing yards, sacks, turnovers, I won't tell anybody, interceptions, and least points allowed. They earned the 3rd place seed in the 5A Eastern KSHA bracket with a regular season record of 6-2, while going 5-0 in league play.
Wow. Wow.
You guys can go back in. Okay, so 2 of them are going to stay. Everybody else can go back in. And you can go ahead and send these. We're going to list these by specialty positions. That's how they're nominated. Quarterback, Dominic Lee from Sumner. Step forward. Running back, Jalen Richardson from Schlegel. Running back, Thomas Anderson, Washington. Wide receiver, Keon Jackson, Sumner. Wide receiver, Markeith Grayson Jr., Washington. Wide receiver, Emmett Hicks, Schlegel. Shake. You get to lead us off, Emmett. And you can send the next group across. This way. Come back. They go right down here. Keep them in. Keep them in. Our next group, linemen, you got them all? Our next group are linemen. I'm not sure who's here, so I'm just going to read them all off. O-line, Kevin Munoz, Wyandotte. O-line, Romare Curry, Washington. O-line, Quincy Spencer, Washington. O-line, Salvador Elman, Harmon. D-line, Willie Jasper, Washington. D-line, Kenny Jackson, Wyandotte. D-line, Phoenix Downs, Schlegel. And D-line, Dominic Jacobs, Washington. Did you guys start this way and shake hands? What happened there? Go. Linebackers, right? Our next group are linebackers, whatever that is. Jalen Richardson, Schlegel. Willie Fields, Washington. Terrence Johnson, Harmon. Manoa Naja Zirabona, Schlegel. I worked on that. Go ahead and send Dbacks. Okay. Is there any of those here? Or any of them here? Okay. Okay, and our D-backs, defensive backs, Taiwan Maturi, Washington. Thomas Anderson, Washington. Keon Jackson, Sumner. Shannon Robinson, Harmon. Trevante Rushing, Harmon. Jordan Scruggs, Schlegel. And Joshua Benton, Schlegel. Go ahead. Who do I have? Yeah, who do I have? Punt returner. We're going to catch these guys. Punt returner in this group, Willie Jasper, Washington. We also have the Offensive Player of the Year, Thomas Anderson. The Defensive Player of the Year, Taiwan Maturi. And the Most Valuable Player, Thomas Anderson from Washington. I need all the football to come up for a pick. O-line and D-line in the back. Anybody over 6 foot in the back. Let's go football. Let's go, guys. This is where we failed at. Tall ones in the back, others on the side, about 9 of you on the front row. We have to be on the bottom for the picture, huh? You guys need to be on the floor all the way. There you go. Come all the way down. All the way down. All the way down. Exactly. I can put a couple over here. Can you see everybody's faces?
There we go.
Is he a defensive linebacker?
Just a little bit.
Don't hide. This guy's hiding.
Okay,
There we go, there we go.
ready? 1, 2. Smile, so we got smiling. Thank you.
You gotta smart phone. No, it was not. I don't just no, they tried to. That's all I can do.
Hey. We want to thank all of the parents for coming out and supporting your students, as well as helping them as they increase in their education through sports and academics.
Way to go, parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Pictures with the soccer players.
So at this particular time, we're going to continue on with our meeting. We are now going to have a community comment, but I want to first go through and read the community comment policy to make sure that there is clarification and understanding. Rules for speaking. The persons eligible to participate in the community comment portion of the board agenda must adhere to the following rules and procedures. At the beginning of their remarks, speakers must state their name. Speaker's address and phone number shall be recorded on a roll to be maintained by the board clerk. This requirement will permit the board to direct their concerns to the proper school official for response and follow-up. Speakers must limit their remarks to 3 minutes, which may include questions by the board. Speakers will be timed and advised when their time is expired. Extensions may be granted upon majority vote of the board. Speakers may only address the board about policy-related issues and general community concerns. Speakers wishing to submit written materials to supplement their remarks should make 12 copies for proper distribution. And if there's a hot issue, speakers will be encouraged not to duplicate the remarks of others. Instead, speakers should seek to introduce new points or perspectives so that everyone's concerns may be heard. And if a person wishes to discuss a topic that is already on the board agenda, the speaker's comments will be deferred until that item is called up for discussion, and the speaker will be permitted to comment as determined by the board president or presiding officer. The speaker must adhere to the 3-minute time limit. And with that being said, we will now have Dana Spohr, who is an instructional coach at Lindbergh Elementary School, coming forth to talk about board policy regarding animals in schools.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to address the board this evening. Since I spoke at the last meeting, I have been informed that my service dog Oakley is not allowed to return to Lindbergh due to unspecified liability concerns. Because I was not given specifics regarding the concerns, I'm still at a loss as to how to address them. In an effort to provide additional reassurance to the board and the administration, I arranged for Oakley to obtain yet another certification through Pet Partners. This latest certification allows Oakley to enter a number of facilities environments to provide support and assistance, including hospitals, schools, nursing facilities, and complex sites. Oakley has now passed a total of 5 certification evaluations to serve as a facility dog in an educational setting. Each certification comes with additional liability insurance, in addition to the $500,000 provided by my homeowner's policy. In addition, the district's liability would be covered through subrogation, a legal right held by most insurance carriers to pursue a third party that caused an insurance loss to the insured. Other districts in Kansas tell me that animals are covered under their general liability policies. And to alleviate any concerns by the district or the board, I have offered to provide an indemnification agreement which would shift any and all liability for Oakley to me instead of the district. The current board policy on animals and plants in the school states, with the prior approval of the principal, animals or plants may be brought to school for instructional purposes. If someone is injured by an animal or comes into contact with a toxic plant, the incident shall be immediately reported to the administration by the supervising teacher. The principal shall notify the superintendent's office, parent, and medical personnel as deemed as necessary. According to the Kansas Association of School Boards, Kansas courts have adopted the idea of the law of the district. This holds that board policy, rules, and regulations become law in the district. This means employees, students, and the public are bound by the enactments, and the board itself is bound by its adopted policy, regulations, and handbooks. With this in mind, it appears the decision to bar Oakley from serving our students as she was trained to do is in direct violation of board policies. In addition, there are animals at other schools within the district. One is even listed on the school's faculty site. With this, Kansas Statute 39-1110 allows my service dog the right to use public transportation, stay at any public accommodation, and enter any business or retail establishment open to the public. The most important piece of all of this is what's best for our students. We have a permission slip from every student. 100% of our parents are in agreement that Oakley should be at our school. Students regularly stop to ask me, in fact, 4 did today, when Oakley will return to school. Dogs in school reduce stress, anxiety, and improve school attendance and cognitive development. I am hoping Oakley's additional certification will permit her to return to Lindbergh. If not, I am respectfully asking for clarification as to why Oakley, a registered service dog, is being denied access to students in light of the existing board policy
Okay, I'm
and
sorry.
current presence of
Your
our
time is-
animals
your
within
time
the
is up.
district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions? No, thank you. Okay. We will now have another community comment in relation to Tishner Manick, collaboration with Parks and Recreation Department. And again, for 3 minutes, please.
Hello, Ms. Drew. How are you? You can call me Cece, by the way, if you have a
Cece,
problem.
okay, thank you.
pronouncing my name. Glad to see you back, Ms. Wayne. Congratulations. So the reason I requested to speak, can you guys hear me? The reason I requested to speak on tonight's agenda was because I volunteer a lot with Parks and Recreation and on a regular basis, and it made me upset to find out that this year, for some reason, we're going to charge Parks and Recreation for our students to use the gymnasiums from, I believe, December through March to practice their sports and various things. I was trying to find out why that would be when we service the same kids. And I feel like instead of creating barriers, we ought to create some type of collaboration for the success of our students in whole. So even after they're out of school, Parks and Recreation kind of picks up that after-school education and after-school positivity that schools should be giving out. So I'm just trying to find out what we can do to not have or not charge Parks and Recreations for our students to be there after school. The last time I was here, Ms. Drew told me that my concerns would be addressed, and it's been almost a month and I haven't heard back from anybody concerning my last time that I was here. And so I would hope that maybe I can get some feedback on that, and also if I do get that feedback, I can forward those resumes to the individuals who had applied for those jobs. So. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry that you did not get a response, but we will make sure that for what happened before, you will definitely get a response. And I would suggest that before you leave, if you would just wait for a few minutes, and Ms. Tishman will be able to speak with you to be able to give you a response and make sure that you get it not only verbally but also in writing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And we will be doing follow-up on what you've just asked for as well, and make sure that time will not pass without you having to come back a third time.
Yes, ma'am.
And ask, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam President, could we also make sure in writing, the young lady who spoke before her, that we give her something back as well? She wanted some clarity as to the status of the dogs, so to make sure that we follow it up with an answer. She asked a question, and we don't want to leave it hanging. Could we respond back?
Well, I'm sorry, I missed the question.
No, she said at the end of her response, the other young lady, Dana Spoor, am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, we'll have to
She asked for response, and I was just saying, can we make sure we give her a response?
Yes,
Well,
definitely, we will take care of that. Okay, thank you. From Dr. Lynette Hookfin will be responding and giving her a response to what she's asking for as of now, because she did follow up before the last time when we met at Northwest Middle School. Okay, thank you. And thank you for bringing that to my attention, okay? So with that being said, we will now move toward our Kansas City Public Library to accept Public Library's report by Ms. Carol Levers, who is the director.
Good evening, Madam President,
Good evening.
Board, Dr. Faust. This is our monthly report. We've got our mission and vision and value statements. The circulation for October, we circulated 83,991 items, 33.81% came from the West Wyandotte circulation. Circulation by type, we've DVDs, AV is usually the top circulator, and it's 41% of the circulation type. Programs, we have in-house in our libraries, and we also have outreach. We have 397 in-house programs, and we had over 7,000, almost 8,000 people attending those programs. I was asked to share some of those programs, but to read all 397 programs that we do through, will take me some time. So right in front of you, you will find a handout that states, that gives you all the programs, especially for the coming month, December, and gives you an idea of what we do on a monthly, weekly, and of course, quarterly manner. Our outreach are usually daycares, schools, assisted livings, and any groups that wanted us to come to their meetings. That is outreach. And we had over 128 of those, and 5,254 people attended those programs. Our e-library, there's e-community for October. 10,631 items were downloaded for reading, and Hoopla was the highest. We had 45.75% of Hoopla accessed. Our databases, the sessions, we had 2,865 sessions that people accessed. Last month, we had the Community Hmong Textiles of America reception at the West Wyandotte Library. The totals, as it shows you, we had 56 people attending, and 50% of the people attended that program were from outside our community. And that's why you can see on the others, the last visit for KCPL, 50% never entered the library, but those people came to that program. Our event rating, 87.5% said it was excellent. And of course, 33% that were there were card holders. And of course, again, Facebook is our #1 medium to advertise our programs and how the people hear from our events. And again, this Saturday is our annual Snowflake Swing, and it's the Kansas City, Kansas Jazz Orchestra. Please, it's always welcome, and it'll be at the West Wyandotte Library. In your packet as well, we have Lila Johnson. She's the author of The Fat Girls Club, and that will be December 14th, and that will be at the main library, so you're all welcome to that as well. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'd ask that the Kansas City Board of Education accept a report on the public libraries as submitted by Carol Levers, Director of Libraries, and is recommended by myself, Superintendent of Schools.
Make a motion that we accept the public libraries report by Carol Levers.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the report by Carol Levers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We're now ready for approve the payment of bills for the Kansas City Public Libraries.
I ask that the Kansas City Board of Education approve the payment of bills for the KCK Public Libraries as submitted by Dennis Covington, Chief Financial Officer, and as recommended by myself, Superintendent of Schools.
I make a motion that we approve the payment of bills for the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the payment of bills for the Kansas City, Kansas Public Library. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. We're now ready to approve the Human Resources Report for Kansas City, Kansas Public Libraries.
I'd ask that the Kansas City Board of Education approve the human resources for the KCK Public Libraries as submitted by Carol Levers, Director of Libraries, and as recommended by myself, Superintendent of Schools.
I make a motion that we approve the human resource report for the Kansas City, Kansas Public Libraries.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that we approve the Human Resources Report for the Kansas City, Kansas Public Libraries. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. We're now ready for the reports of the superintendent. Starting first with Greenway Strategy Group.
Ask that the Kansas City Board of Education accept an update from Greenway Strategy Group on the strategic planning process for the district as submitted by Stephen Linkus, Chief of Staff, and as recommended by myself, Superintendent of Schools.
All right.
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, guys. Thank you to Board President and the Board and Dr. Faust for having us for an update. Again, I am Yanika Daniels.
I'm Patty Fogelsong, and we're happy to be here with you and tell you a little bit about what we've been doing since the last time we were together in October. All right. So just to refresh your memory, this is our timeline for strategic planning. We've completed phase 1, which is our analysis phase. We did that in the fall and had a really great design session with district leadership, and we were able to come back and meet with you all and give you an update, and then we were able to take that information out to the community and get their input, and that's really what we want to talk to you about today. So last time we were here, we were where the blue triangle is, and now we've moved forward to where the red triangle is. So after tonight, we'll move forward and train our district strategy teams to continue the work in a more detailed way, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So just to remind you of the information that we have used as a team to really build where we are in the strategic plan right now, we started back with the work that you all did in locating Dr. Faust in your superintendent search and looked at some of the information that the search firm provided in terms of notes from focus groups and feedback sessions. We looked at the output that Susan was so kind to share with us from the Board of Education from your listening sessions that you all did with the community. We looked at student, parent, and teacher surveys conducted over the last couple of years. And then we looked at a review of student academic performance to factor that in as well. And then we also took into account some regional workforce trends for the greater Kansas City area and used that to inform the analysis. Using all of that data and getting together with district leadership, we identified some trends and some opportunities for growth for the district. And based on that, we drafted what we are calling long-term outcomes and strategic themes. So these are really the pieces of the strategic plan framework that ground the work, the detailed work that will happen as part of your strategic plan. So we came to you in October then and said that we would like to go out with our draft outcomes and strategic themes to the community and see what the community had to say about those. And that's what we'd like to talk to you about tonight.
So as Patty mentioned, we were here October 8th and presented to you the strategic plan. And then in the month of October, we had the opportunity to work with the team here to actually host 8 community and staff forums and had about 100 participants to provide input on the strategic plan during that process. And then in November, we wanted to make sure that we had a broader reach, and so we they launched an online survey for about 2 weeks for anyone in the community, any staff members, to be able to provide input as well in the strategic plan, and so that's what happened in November.
So as Patty mentioned, we just wanted to remind you of the terminology that we use. We know there's a lot of strategic planning that happens and different terminology is used by different organizations. So we just wanted to ground you back in what we use. We'll be talking today primarily about the priority student outcomes and the strategic themes which were tested by the community. All right, and so this is what we showed you in October 8th. This is also what we shared with the community. So let's talk a little bit about what we heard. So the overall feedback, a lot of the participants appreciated being a part of the sessions, just being asked to give and weigh in feedback on something that's so important to the district and what was happening. People were excited to attend a session held in Spanish, and so at each of the sessions there were interpreters, but we had one specific session in Spanish, and we got a lot of positive feedback from that. And then there was just a continued desire to see more detail. And so just explaining that we're at the beginning stages, but people were really interested in learning more and wanting more detail. And I think that's great news for us as we continue to think about how do we continue to keep the community engaged. So what did we hear? A lot of stakeholders praised the focus on literacy and inclusion of all students, and also they loved seeing both college and career. That came up numerous times, that we love the focus on both college and career. There was some sentiment about equity and cultural responsiveness being missing from the outcomes, and then there was kind of the broader conversation that we had to then think about and take back, that this is a part of the entire plan, and so keeping equity and cultural responsiveness included in the entire plan is something that was really highlighted. The word proficiency was seen as limiting, and so we initially had it in our outcomes as increasing proficiency in both math and literacy, and there were a number of comments that might be limiting to our students.
Can I make a comment or a question about that? Scares me, because on the state level, the state is going to evaluate us, and they use the terms. It scares me because past administration, we were behind, and they're using the word proficient at the state level. So I don't want us to be fooled, and I think we need to inform the community that on the state level, they're evaluating us, and they're using that term, and they're using that term to delegate funds, and we don't want to mislead anyone. Now, I know no one wants to hear that, but we have to be honest. And we have to use and keep in mind that on the state level, that's what they're doing. And for us to sit here and pretend we don't want to use that, yes, we have to, because that's what they're doing in Topeka. And they want to know, are they proficient? They want to know what the graduation rate, the business community. So we can't just be naive about this. So I don't know if that was expressed to the community, because that's what scares me. I want our students to be proficient. That's why we went and got Dr. Faust. We want somebody to come in to make a difference, to make a change, and let's get back on track. So when we say our students are proficient, we can say it and mean it. So that scares me when I hear that. That just blows my mind. Why wouldn't you want your children to be proficient? Anything other than that is just, and I'm sorry, but it just blew my mind.
No, and I'd love to give you more context, if that's helpful as well, and also kind of how we've worked with other districts around this too. I think the comments were not just about, so when it says proficiency is limiting, so we already have some students that are proficient, and so the concern was pushing students at all levels, right? And so it wasn't necessarily that we only want our students to get proficient. There were comments and thoughts about, what about students who are already proficient? We still need to push those students in an achievement perspective. One of the things that we also would recommend or come back to with you in a second when we show the big screen is that we also still have to do measures. And so when we think about the outcomes, we have to figure out, how do we measure then, if we want to increase achievement for all students in math, how will we measure that? And proficiency can be a measure. And so
let's not get it twisted though, because the state is not fixing it, making it cute. This is it. And we have to adhere to it. And we have to be about the business. We have some, but our numbers are still not as high as they should be. So let's not get that twisted. Yes, some are, but we can do better than what we're doing. And we don't want to limit ourselves. Now that, to me, to say that this is limiting, that's a whole nother beast, and it's frightening. So I want it on the record. We got to be about business and educate these kids and give them the very best that we have to offer.
So let's continue that conversation, especially, I know you've already probably looked at the presentation, but as we get to the framework, and then also kind of take note, I'd love to hear kind of continued conversation from everyone.
Okay.
All right. So what actions did we recommend? So the first action was to ensure that equity and cultural responsiveness is infused throughout all of the work, both in the strategy teams and throughout the whole strategic plan. We recommended that there was a replacement of proficiency in outcomes to reflect growth for all students, and then also removing increased graduation rate as an outcome so that it can be included as a measure. And so our outcomes, one of the outcomes we'll talk about in a second, was really about college and career readiness. And one of the measures of that is graduation rate. And so that was kind of one of the recommendations, that the measure of college and career readiness would be the graduation rate increasing, along with other measures that the team might decide could be a part of college and career readiness.
But on that, again, I would say we need to say graduation rate, because they're saying it in Topeka. So I mean, no disrespect, but let's be careful with that.
Okay. All right. So then around the strategic themes, what are the other things that we heard? So we had broad support for themes addressing family engagement and KCKPS employees. So overwhelmingly, people like the theme being, there's a theme around continuously engaging both family, but then also this theme around attracting, hiring, and retaining great employees. The word levels in a theme addressing college and career readiness was confusing to people. And then there were a lot of comments around social and emotional support for students as an essential component, and they thought that it was missing from the draft. The other piece that came out was a concern around district cultural morale, and there was a concern raised there. So our recommendations were to replace the word levels with all grades in the strategic theme addressing college and career readiness, to add an additional theme addressing social and emotional support for students, and then to remove the word support from college and career theme to focus it in a new area of social emotional support. All right, and so these are the recommended changes. Of course, we love to continue to hear more feedback as well. So with the priority student outcomes, as you can see, it's now increase academic achievement in literacy for all students, increase academic achievement in math for all students, and prepare all students for college and career. There's also an additional theme that is to align social emotional supports focused on the whole child. And in our conversations both with the district and with Dr. Faust, we know that there are a number of things that are already being done around social emotional support and learning. And so this is more around both the alignment of it, and maybe it's pieces around communication that we started to hear the community wanting more around this area. And I'll pause before we go to the last piece just for comment or more questions.
Any comments from anyone?
So according to Wanda's concern, that second bullet, I believe, I think she was saying something around increased proficiency and academic achievement in math for all students, for instance, and not totally remove that word proficient.
Okay.
Because once you do hit that proficiency, like you said, what is next? But the concern comes, we have so many that are not. But yet, if we think about the whole wraparound support of our students, we have to support those who are proficient, because we do have some, and we don't want them to feel left out. So, yeah, I can see where that wording could still be interjected without feeling intimidated, because it's more explained. And then as we have a community who understands, what does proficiency mean? It's not a bad word. It's not a word that should be shunned, but it goes back to educating our community. If we have not used that language or terminology, or that it's a good expectation, then it can be intimidating. But yet, we still want to be careful not to challenge. We have to challenge our community to come up to the standard of where we need to be. So be proud of being proficient. Be proud to be on track. Be proud, like those who were here today, they were proficient in what they did. Using that word proficiency more, so it's not something that is a word that brings a negative connotation, because the reality is we have 3 generations of poverty in our community, and they were not able to be proficient as they could have been. And maybe that resonates, again, a negative experience. But we want our community to have a positive experience, and that's helping them to understand the language, as Wanda said, Topeka's using, the language that we're using, the goals that we want to go and need to drive that. Because without parents fully engaging and embracing what we're trying to do, then it will not fully be recognized.
I just wanted to, and I'm sure you know that, you've looked at the Kansas Education Systems Accreditation Plan, and you looked at the state plan. So measuring graduation rates and proficiency and levels are in the state plan and are part of the accreditation plan. So perhaps we have misunderstood you saying replacing these words, or lack of understanding, but there's not much of a choice in replacing a word that is used in the state plan,
So,
in my opinion.
so 2 different things, I would say. One, these outcomes are what you want to see for children over the next 5 years when the work of this strategic plan is done. So we really want to think of these in terms of challenging our students, being aspirational, moving students to the next level. The other piece of that is that, like Yanika mentioned, each one of these, once they're set, and it's something we can't do until we get them set, each one of them will have at least one and generally multiple measures that will be reported on. And that is where you will see measurement of graduation rate. When you look at, are you preparing all students for college and career? Well, graduation rate is one way to measure that. Are you increasing academic achievement in math for all students? Well, we do need to look at growth in terms of how many students were proficient, as the cohort moves forward. So those pieces, those more technical pieces, will be included always in the measures and reported to the state, no matter what the language of the specific outcomes say. I think there's a balance that, we want to get right between making sure that we are putting forth a plan that resonates with our community and that they understand when we ask them to be a part of it, and making sure that it also aligns with nomenclature and state regulations and things. So there's several ways that we can do that, but our suggestion of removing or replacing the word in the outcomes are to make the language more
user-friendly
for the community, because that's what we heard from them. Sometimes, and we do it all the time, we get into edu-speak, and people will look at me, and my husband will look at me and he'll say, "What are you talking about?" We have an 8-year-old, and I'm all of a sudden talking about this, that, or the other thing, and he's like, "Just talk to me." So we want the public to embrace the strategic plan, and so we want to make it really palatable and something that they feel comfortable with and will join us in partnership in.
But with respect, it could be interpreted as you're dumbing down the language because you don't respect the community and/or the 100 people that were there may not have understood it, but our expectations, we removed increased graduation rates, and I know you didn't say this, but it sounds like, or could be perceived as, our community doesn't understand increasing, or finds this intimidating. That's not what you said, but that's how it comes across. And so to say, and again I say, help me understand that this is not what you said, that you are slowly educating the community so that at the end of whatever, you can say, on this set of paper that we report to the state or in the state plan, we'll use this set of language. But on this, today, we'll use this set of language. And I suggest no. We have high expectations for ourselves and our own community, and perhaps those 100 felt that proficiency. I don't know how you explained it, and I'm not saying you didn't explain it properly, but perhaps there may have been a disconnect. That's what you're reporting to us, and that's what we're paying you $100,000 for. But I do not accept, and maybe because I'm in Topeka and I hear it daily and I read it daily, that the same language, in my opinion, should be used. And I don't believe we have the luxury of saying, well, let's smoothly, slowly bring our community along. Let's explain it and explain it and explain it as it is used and as we're held accountable. That's what I know I need help with understanding this.
Sure. Well, that's your all's choice. If you choose to move forward with the original set of language, that's totally fine. These are recommendations based on what we've heard, but ultimately, that's a decision that your team can make. One clarification around the graduation rate piece, though, that wasn't about the language. That was more about reconsidering whether increasing the graduation rate is an outcome that you should be striving for, or if it's actually a measure that fits under that outcome of preparing all students for college and career. And it really, thinking about one particular rate, it really is more of a measurement versus an outcome. Right. And so it's more appropriate in terms of the structure to have graduation rate be an indicator of whether students are prepared for college and career than a standalone outcome for children.
The state plan just states an outcome for measuring progress, among others, high school graduation rates. So if the state plan is holding us to that, I need further explanation as to why and maybe I'm not hearing what you're saying.
I think I'll take a stab at it. So under each outcome, we'll have to think about then how do we measure that? And a lot of times districts use the state language to measure an outcome. And so our thoughts were the measures can be the specific things that the state uses in terms of proficiency, in terms of graduation rate. Those are all measures of the student outcomes. So for instance, prepare all students for college and career. We might, as a board and as a school district, decide in order to prepare all students for college and career, we need to ensure graduation rates are increasing. We need to ensure that Diploma Plus participation has increased. We might decide in order to determine, have we reached the outcome to prepare all students for college and career? These are the things we're measuring to say, yes, we've in 5 years moved the needle on preparing all students for college and career. So it wasn't necessarily that we were intending to kind of dumb anything down for the community. It was thinking structurally, our outcome is to prepare students for college and career. How are we going to measure that? These are the things, and we usually measure that through either graduation rate or whatever type of CTE, other types of prep programs that you may have. Similarly, for proficiency, we can include it if the board decides that based on where we are, we want to be able to further educate our community. We want to call it out. Then we can, and that's usually what one of the pieces of kind of testing it with the community is to kind of hear the feedback. And if this is an opportunity for us to say, hey, we actually want to call proficiency out, and let's take this opportunity to further educate our community And that's where we want to be, because that's where all the other districts are stating specifically, then we can do that. But another piece of that, or you can say, how are we going to measure the outcome of increasing academic achievement and literacy? And we can do that by increasing proficiency rates and looking at that. Does that help a little bit,
Well,
for the measures versus the outcomes?
Am I not reading this, what you say? Remove increased graduation rate as an outcome?
As so the priority student outcomes, those are the things that we're saying we want our students to be in the next 5 years. And underneath, we haven't gotten to that part yet, because that's coming in the next few steps of our process. We will then define, how do we measure the student outcomes? What are the things that we are going to use to measure the outcomes? And we move that into kind of the next phase in the next calendar piece, if I were to scoot your own over just a little bit. Develop objectives, measures, and initiatives. We'll then think about what are the measures for our student outcomes. So, it's one of those things that we can, if as a board you decide you really want that word in your outcomes, we can have it in there.
Some of the parents that were at those meetings, they were concerned we would only focus on being proficient. They wanted to make sure that we would challenge the kids who are already proficient and are going on. They wanted to make sure we didn't just stop there. So they liked the word achievement. That's what I heard at those meetings.
But then we need to remind them, I don't think anybody's going to stop there, because we're going to continue to push, do what we need to do. But it frightens me when I hear that, because it seems like we're going backwards instead of forward. And if we're moving forward, we need to use the lingo that the state is using. We need to educate people. I'm not saying you didn't do that, but we need to make them aware of what they're saying in Topeka, the business community. When they come in here, they're talking about graduation rates, they're talking about proficiency. Everybody else is using the lingo, but we want to kind of pretend. This is not an athletic event where everybody gets a trophy for participating. We want our kids to be and do the best that they possibly can.
And I think what I will do next time is I will stand with this group and be able to speak with them about this project, and also to note that if this is what the board wants in the community, that's what we're going to do. So the changes, the suggestions, we're going to go back to the table to ensure that this plan is for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe we need a little bit more conversation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So just to kind of talk about where we are and next steps, and thank you, Dr. Hookman. We are in the midst of being ready to prepare and train strategy teams around these themes. I heard a lot of discussion around the student outcomes, but also just wanted to make sure we highlight that there was an additional strategic theme added. And so what we are doing in the next step is then preparing strategy teams, which will be members of the KCKPS staff who are working kind of in these areas and have been identified, and they can then take the next piece, which is to then develop the objectives, the measures, and initiatives around these strategic themes. What I just heard is like a critical step is for us to then make sure that the wording is something that we all feel good about, agree upon, and that you as a board feel good about, and that we're taking into consideration also what the community has said. And so we'll make sure that we do that. But the key next step, which will take us a little bit kind of through the holiday, is that these strategic teams are really going to kind of dive into then what is next? What's the how? How do we then engage families and community and KCKPS students successfully? How do we then attract, develop, and retain KCKPS employees? And so they're going to work to fill out the rest of this chart, which are the objectives and the strategic initiatives.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I do appreciate the opportunity that has been presented to us to be able to look at the engagement, not only for the parents, for the teachers, but also for the community. And yes, we're going to have a rocky road in order for us to be able to come to an agreement. But I like the direction that we're going in, because that way we can talk about it, fix the problem, and then come up with a solution that will give clarity not only for our teachers, but also to the community and for the parents to be more engaging. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And we'll get there.
Yes.
We will get there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Does that need to be a motion to approve it?
Okay. Could I get a motion that we approve this? The Greenway, the update from the Greenway Strategy Group on strategic planning for the process for the district.
Now, you asked just for clarity, because I don't want to vote for something, because I don't like the way it's set up. So what, are we just voting that?
To accept their update.
Report, okay.
The
And they
update.
will make the necessary adjustments
Right.
and corrections.
Right.
Ms. Drew, so we do have, excuse me, Madam President.
Yes.
We do have meetings coming up, as Dr. Hook-Finn stated. We will train people. We have people from finance, human resources, academics, student services will be looking into this as well as cabinet. So we'll be looking at that. I've taken notes, as well as Greenway, as I would probably say some of my colleagues. So we'll be working on all these pieces, and this is an update. So this is just to update you guys on what the
Right.
progress is within the process. So notes were taken on the concerns and the things that were brought up by board members, and we will definitely be discussing those as we look at this process.
Okay.
So you're basically voting on the draft?
Of the update.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr.
There's a
Nguyen?
little bit of a challenge in accepting the draft with the concern of the draft.
Yeah.
So I don't want to stop progress. Your meeting's coming up, but what will you be training the staff to do?
So if I can just, I can't go back. So the strategy teams, we have time to get the wording right on what we believe the student outcomes can be. What our strategy teams are going to dig into are the 4 key themes that were, that's okay. So we have strategy teams that we want to train on theme 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so these teams will come together, and we're going to walk them through the process of how do they work together as a team, begin to do research, understand what's kind of the best practices in moving the district forward in these 4 different themes. And so we can have time to get the wording right under this priority student outcomes. What we want to be able to do is get our strategy teams moving so that they can, these 4 themes, and we added an additional one, so that they can kind of get the momentum going and start their work on these themes.
And what I'm hearing,
that helpful?
yes, and what I'm hearing you saying is in relation to graduation rates, proficiency, those will be included in there. And as far as them working with the teams. But what we're looking at is how do we add those words into these 4 areas? And so once you all meet, you will be able to move forward, because we know we want to focus on proficiency. We know we want to work on graduation rates. That's not going to change. What will change is the wording as to how it's going to be.
Yes.
So and I'm suggesting if we agree to accept the draft, the information that we're asking for is going to be included. We just have to make sure that it is going to be worded so that we can see it. Does that make sense?
I don't think you're voting to accept anything tonight. I think all you're doing is accepting the information that was received as the update.
The update.
Yeah, you're not approving any report or approving any plan. It's just, I think all you're doing is you've received the report or the update. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Madam President, I move that we accept the update from Greenway Strategy Group on the strategic planning process for the district.
Could I get a second, please?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the update for the Greenway Strategy Group on the strategic planning process for the district. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. We're now ready to accept the second read discussion proposed changes to board policy and grading system.
Recommended action is that the Kansas City Board of Education accept and update, I'm on the wrong one. Accept for second read and discussion proposed changes to the board policy IHA grading system as submitted by Alan King, interim assistant superintendent, as recommended by myself, superintendent of schools.
Madam President, Board, Dr. Faust, as it is the second read, it's open for your discussion.
Any questions? No questions?
I make a motion that we accept the second read and discussion proposed changes to the board policy IHA grading system.
I'm sorry, I do have one question, or maybe I missed it. Before there was a set number of grades in, I don't remember seeing that.
No, it's
So you
not
didn't-
in there. Dr. Faust asked me as we went through this, and Board President as well looked at it to see what the surrounding districts have. There's no district that sets the specific number at the board level. It's done at the building level. To be honest with you, your original policy is exactly the wording for the other school districts in Wyandotte County as well as Shawnee Mission, because we took them all from the Kansas Association of School Boards policies that they gave us. And most of them follow this as a short policy, in policy, and then the handbooks break things out more. And we could not find in any of the handbooks a listing of numbers.
Because I guess my concern, and I get that, but we need to make sure we emphasize the principals and whomever, that they put grades in the book. That's still not happening in some places. And parents are calling and complaining, and we have the right machinery and everything. And sometimes, I didn't say all, so whoever misquotes me, I just said sometimes it's not getting in there, and it should be. And that shouldn't be an issue. And then that puts us all in a catch-22, because they're going to call the counselors, and they want to know what's going on, and the counselor's like, hey, you got to get the grade. That shouldn't be an issue. So we got to make sure we emphasize, you got to record the grades. It doesn't make sense.
Rather than a specific number, in the second paragraph under wording for the school and parent handbooks, the last sentence is grades should be updated in the online grade book each week to keep everyone informed of student progress.
Yeah.
So I do have a question. If the board wants a number, we can put in, this is the policy that the board is wanting. And so I would also like for us to take a look at paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, where we actually state infinite campus. I don't know if we want to state the actual, because the system that we're using, that's probably need to remove that one.
Okay. We can do that.
What would we replace infinite campus with? What generic wording?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We don't want to say the actual system, because let's say 3 years from now, we may not be using infinite
Right,
campuses. So we're going to come back and rewrite it, so we'd have to replace it with the word. This is only the second read, so I think we probably
So
do
there's plenty
need
of
to
changes.
make some more changes and come back. But I agree, I think you do probably need to put a number. And it's okay if you want to be a district, and we shouldn't probably say should.
You say shall, and that mandates it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
We can make that change.
Shall is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to add a number other than what's here?
If you say shall, you're saying you have it updated each week.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're going to come around for a third reading, that's just something to consider.
Yeah.
To be honest, one of the issues that we had to concern when the number 10 was being discussed,
Right.
our elementary art classes meet once a week. That's 9 times in a quarter.
Okay.
So it would be, they'd have to do some creative grading to get one more assignment in there, because they only have them for 15 minutes anyway.
And actually, we need to be holding the principals accountable for ensuring that their staff is entering it. You know, we have to put the ownership back on those principals to be checking. And if we monitor the principals accordingly, and it trickles down, then I trust that they will do what they're supposed to do. So I don't think we have to have a number. I really trust that the new principal trainings is going great. Good feedback from principals being on it will help with the effort of what we're trying to see.
Mr. Goheen, in common Joe language, does shall mean the same it does legislatively?
Yes. So if you say shall, it's required. It has to be done.
In everyone's language?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so our
Are you
recommendation
sure?
is changing it from
Sure.
should to shall.
Shall means it has to.
It has to be done.
So it needs a second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the updated version for our IHA grading system.
Modifications.
With the modifications that have been suggested. All those in
Discussion. That's a-
discussion?
Help me understand again, are these items in red the board-approved methods for assessing?
The items in red were the adjustment to the policy. What we suggested in terms of policy was to identify the things that would be clarified within the handbooks. So those are the topics that are then covered in what appears below is what should appear in the handbooks.
Correct. So I'll ask you a yes/no question with respect. Are items in red the definition for board-approved methods?
No. No, I would not say. I'd say they're.
So what are those again? Can
Those
you
would be.
help me find it in here?
Sure.
Right
If you
below.
would look on the,
Grading scale. If you scroll
the
up.
first paragraph under wording for school and parent handbooks, the third sentence, grades should communicate student learning relative to clearly stated instructional expectations based on standards of the contents. Grades should be mainly determined by assessments in the form of, but not limited to, written tests, essays, science experiments, and so on.
Now, were they in there? Was that sentence in the?
No, the original policy is the short line in bold at the very top.
Correct. So should not, okay, again, a question. What else should be in red?
All of it. Well, a majority of it.
The current policy is just that bold section, the 2 sentences.
Correct.
The new proposed policy has, that first sentence is the same, then you've got the red being added to the second sentence,
Correct.
and that's it.
So our staff knows that board-approved methods are sentence 3 through whatever in the second paragraph?
They would know that from their handbooks.
Yeah,
They would or will or
They will.
have?
They will,
They will.
yes.
Okay. Because we did not know it a month ago.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the handbook language, everything that's below those red lines is
We
new.
approved it.
Is that right?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
The handbook language, that's all new, even though it's not in red.
It's new, it's officially not part of the policy, it's part of the handbook, and this was not part of the handbook before. It was a posting on the website, but it was not part of the handbook at all. So we've put it, so it will be included in the handbook.
Everything?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have had a motion that was moved and seconded. Although those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Okay. We're now ready to approve the proposed 2020-2021 expansion of the hard staff to staff classroom teacher supplement program.
Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, Superintendent, Houston, Kansas City, Kansas, we have a problem. Retaining and recruiting hard-to-staff teachers. Not just our problem, it's a national problem. And we got to get competitive if we want to staff our schools. So tonight I'm going to bring before you a proposal to help us get competitive.
Okay.
Called Hard-to-Staff Classroom Teacher Supplement for the 2021 school year. Why are we bringing this forward now? This program represents district priorities. It establishes our competitive compensation, assists in our teachers' negotiations starting next year, and put our district in an advantageous position for hiring teachers when they graduate in May. What are we proposing? We're proposing that we increase our current program for high school math and science classroom teachers. And I keep saying classroom teachers because this increase in expansion is just for classroom teachers. So our current program is that we pay a supplement of $5,000 over 2 years if you are a math or science teacher in the district. That's $3,000 paid in the first year, $2,000 paid in the second year. What we're proposing that we increase the program to $10,000 paid annually. You will get a $5,000 check in December and a $5,000 check in May if you are a high school math and science teacher. The current program will remain the same for middle and elementary school. They will maintain the $5,000 program. The $10,000 program moves to high school math and science. We have approximately 75 positions allotted, and so the additional cost of this program will be $375,000. The next category is our hard-to-staff classroom teachers for SPED, and this is all levels, not just high school. So currently we have a $5,000 over 2 years and a 2% increase to the base if you are a SPED teacher and also the auxiliary services. So the new program will be just for the teachers, where we will increase the $5,000 to $7,500 paid annually, with $3,750 paid in December and the other piece in May, and the 2% increase to the base is still in play. And we have approximately 319 of those positions, so the additional cost is $797,500. Total program cost is $1,172,500. And how do we pay for this? 2 ways. We know based on the budget that was approved in the state last year that we're going to probably get about $5.4 million of new money. But through our process of going through the line items in the budget, we're going to suggest that we take those redirects that we find and apply it towards this program. I have no idea what that is right now, but we will find redirects. What are our next steps? In our efforts to further make us competitive, we are researching establishing a district master's in education program as a partnership, either with Kansas University or Kansas State University. It's just planning is in the infinite stage, and so we got some work to do on that piece. But that is our next step in trying to get us competitive and hire the best and retain the best high school math and science and SPED teachers. Any questions?
So currently, what is the deficiency in the math and SPED?
What is the deficiency?
I didn't understand the question. The deficiency?
Deficiency, like how many teachers are we missing, or,
Yeah.
Well, as we all know, we haven't talked about it in a while, but this is our hardest to fill positions. And it's not gotten any better over time. We compete with all the districts for the same people. And we, end up losing sometimes because of the compensation. So everybody's trying to compete for the same folks. That's why this master's program is important as well, which we will be bringing some proposals forward with that, to really try to encourage people to go into these hard-to-fill areas as, getting their education. So that helps us supply our district with the teachers that we need.
So if they're working on their master's degree, is there a way to temporarily place them, or they have to be fully completed?
Well, they can be working towards, it's typically what you're talking about is like a fellows program, right? And we do have those programs today. So it would be encouraging more people to go into that field and get into the math and science area. And so we do provide some aid, but we don't provide at the level of funding that probably would really promote people making those changes.
Okay, thank you.
So when you say districts masters, that's what you're speaking of, that you're crafting it to this district?
Yes,
Because it
exactly.
still would be master's education
Yes.
program, but not what the what was it, K-State and?
K-State, KU.
Not what their standard master's education program is?
It would, but what we're talking about here is really back to what we were saying before, the kind of that master, the fellows program where we were taking people out of industry or different, with bachelor's degrees that maybe is not in education. What we want to be promoting here is people moving into the math and science field from maybe some other field. You know, even if they just had a regular bachelor's degree in education, we'd want them to specialize in the math and science area or SPED. So it's just a matter of helping fund that. That's what we're probably going to be talking about.
And this is a generic question, I make comment every time I see you, is that I'm still getting phone calls from people who have with PhDs in special ed, who applications say pending, but yet you're saying we have such a great need, but we're not hiring people who have applied.
Well, again, we talk about each one of those individually, and I'm happy to look at any of them individually, but we obviously have still a greater need than probably we can meet even with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only getting calls for 5 or 10, and you have 319, but it would make that 309. Let me ask you, Mr. Goheen, a question. Is this a topic that is mandatory negotiable item?
Part of it would potentially be, there are provisions in the contract right now that allow us to pay additional monies to hard-to-fill positions in the contract, and so part of this could fit under that program.
Right, so would these be topics, or this be a topic we would notice up in whatever month, February, whatever?
That's up to the board, but I anticipate yes.
So
But
us taking action this evening could that not be considered outside of the negotiating?
No, because, well, for example, you've got a provision in the contract that would allow you to adjust salaries for hard-to-fill positions for initially placed math and science teachers, among other things. You've also got a provision in the contract that deals with special education teachers that are hard to fill. As it relates to current employees, we probably have to negotiate it up and deal with it that way. But as you're talking about initial placement or initial hires, the way the contract language reads right now, I think you would be okay at looking at. We'll make sure before you guys do anything that doesn't cross the line there, that we negotiate anything that we need to negotiate. But in terms of what the current contract provides for, you have programs in place for both of these areas of need right now. This is just changing the compensation component for those. So, for example, the contract, if you look at page 25, it says initial placement for new teachers in hard-to-fill positions, namely secondary math, science, special education, may be adjusted by the board to fill positions. So that's the programs that Mr. Covington has talked about already, what the current compensation piece is there. That's where those fit.
Right.
So as it relates to current teachers, that's a different animal.
I'm just concerned it's a real, Dr. Faust, talking to you now, it's a real thin line in even tentatively making a nod, a wink, when there'll only be a set amount of dollars, and for us to nod or wink toward a 1.2 million expenditure. It seems premature. Yet, publicly having the discussion is one thing, knowing that this is Kanye, public, people who are looking for a job, no, we're maybe moving down that road. But it just seems a little premature making a commitment, and this is probably not asking, you're saying approve the proposal, when we always can change. You don't have to spend the money, but just, in my opinion, it just seems a little preliminary in December, although we won't know when we get the money until May 31st, July 1 maybe, so interesting. And I think it is, contract negotiations are never peaceful things anyway, by definition, so.
We'd like them to be, but they seldom are.
They're not.
Right.
It's not that world. But that, have you spoken with, off the record with Kanye?
No. One of the things that we are trying to do is literally just retain and attract candidates. And so for hard-to-staff positions, we have to go above and beyond. Because we already are. I mean, we're doing some things that's already there. I mean, we already have, I think it's 5,000.
Right.
There are 7,500, something right there. But it's because there are not enough graduates graduating from those programs. Ones that are out there, they're going to districts where
They're paying more.
paying more, or it's not a turnaround district. And so they're going there. So our quest is, how do we get those individuals to come here, teach our students? Because, math and science at the high school, a chemistry teacher, a physics teacher, those are, there are only a couple who are graduating. And so how do we get them here is the
Right, I
question.
understand, and I understand.
Right.
So it's just,
I get it.
I'm a little reluctant to support because it just seems premature and it seems.
Can I just say that last year, when we were in our negotiation cycle, one of the problems we did have, and this is just a timing issue, of when we get things approved and when we're recruiting. So we start recruiting in January. We're recruiting all the time, basically. But the hard recruiting stuff is going to start happening, and, we're going to be, so that's the big issue, because if we had even been able to communicate what we did end up coming up with, the incentives that we have on this, that we already talked about, we would have had those approved prior to, July. And the fact is, we would have been able to attract talent easier, and we would have had people come here sooner. As it was, we were fighting to the very end to get teachers. So that's the only thing I would ask you to think about, is that our timing doesn't always work in our favor for when we're doing most of our recruiting.
Yeah, and I'll say it again. We, in my opinion, going after that first-year graduate is not successful in a very high-need district. And we've had that conversation before. So, again, having this public conversation in December is valuable. Personally, I don't think I'm able to support it in December because there's a little bit few unknowns, and again, a lot more conversation, but I'm just reporting my sentiment.
Anyone else?
Madam President, I appreciate you coming to us with this proposal. I think I would like a little bit more information about what surrounding districts are doing. And I would like it to come back to us in January when the 2 new board members are on, so that we can have a good discussion and more information presented. That is my suggestion.
Anyone else? Okay, I would just like to say that we've been focusing on student achievement, and we've earlier had a conversation about proficiency and graduation rates. And if we want to be able to get there, then we're going to have to move in a different direction when we are aware of the fact that we don't have the qualified people to be here, and so therefore, it's necessary for us to put a plan into place. And this is a plan that we can move in the right direction to get exactly what we want. And just by us accepting it through the proposal, it may be later on that we may not be able to utilize it, and we can change it. But I would be in favor of us moving on and accepting this.
You know what, Madam President, I'd also like to add to your concern that since budgeting is such a challenge, we need to maybe start the budgeting process earlier and look at what resources we will have.
We can do that.
So that this is one large component, but it's not the only component, as you said. That what are our needs? What are our needs? I mean, these are super serious needs, but there are other super serious needs of faculty, staff that I just think that, you know, we're not looking at the big pie. We're just looking at a big chunk of it, but not a big pie. If we're only getting $5 million, this is almost $2 million. And that's a prayer that we're going to get $5 million.
Okay. Anyone else? So can I get a motion that we approve the proposed 2020-2021 expansion of the HART to staff classroom teacher supplement program?
So moved.
Could I get it seconded? I would second it. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, so therefore, this has not been approved. Thank you.
Want to make your motion?
Is it possible that you can?
Janie's making a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion that we readdress this at the January 14th meeting with more information, because it could be that this is not the amount we want to offer. It could be it needs to be higher.
Okay.
But we need more information, so I would like to make that motion. And if you can furnish the information to us sooner so that the new board members can also access it before the meeting, it'd be appreciated.
Okay. So the motion is that we would approve this.
Readdress it.
To readdress it in January, when we have the new board members present for the expansion of the HART to staff classroom teacher supplement program. All those in favor say aye.
Need a second.
I'm sorry. We need to have it seconded, please.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we would address this in January with the new board members. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Discussion?
What exactly are you asking them to bring back? So they'll know.
I would like to know what surrounding districts are offering, what kind of incentives they're offering, so that we have an idea of what the competition is. And to just give us an idea on paper so we can see it. This is what so-and-so is doing, this is what they're doing. And so we can see whether this is higher or lower than what they're doing. And give the new board members time to see the research that you've done. Because I'm sure you've done quite a bit of research to come up with this proposal. But if you can get it to us before the January meeting, everyone has time to look at it. And if they have any questions, they can let you know.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd like to add how many special ed and math and science teachers we have pending that have applied and have not been, that are in that holding status.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right. So could, discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, next we're ready for our consent agenda.
Madam President, I'd like to set aside item 9 on number C like cat and number E like easy.
So the human resource report? that what-
correct?
Number 9
Item
on.
9 on C,
Mhm.
and that be dedicated to executive session, and set aside item E, like easy.
Okay. So may I have a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 9 of C and then E?
So moved.
Anyone second it?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept, that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 9 of C and then E. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you. So Dr. Nguyen on
We need that executive session though, right?
For item 9,
item 9, but for E,
C, which we can make it when we go
Right.
into executive session. And number E, I've asked this question before. Help me understand, how do we get a reporting of the changes of, and I've identified gifts and grants and the contingency reserve. Where do we find the reporting of those? On item E is the monthly finance report. Usually midway down, like line 15 or so is gifts and grants. And if that's 15, so about 20 is contingency reserve. When there are figures of about $1 million in expenditures and gifts and grants and 368,000 in contingency reserve, where do we find the reporting of those expenditures? I think this is the second time I've asked that.
Well, currently, there is, without the Alivu system that we're trying to get in place to where you can drill down on each of those line expenditures, that report is a summary of all the expenses paid. And so to get down to the individual details of those programs, we will have to go into each individual departments and drill down on those codes to see what expenditures were made in each of those individual departments. So there's not a one report where I can tell you every dime that was paid out of gifts and grants, because I would have to run individual departments. Because that section covers Kids Zone, Diploma Plus, E-Rate, Early Childhood, the Kansas Preschool Pilot Program, the SDAC Nursing Program, Community Mental Health Grants, Wellness Grants. That's a whole range of stuff.
So here's my second question with that in mind. How do you make this report?
That's pulled out of the system. Like, it can go in there and by codes that's in the system, it will sum those up and to generate that report. So it will sum all those details up to where it prints out a summary report.
So to date, there's no way the board will ever know how those, any reporting on those items. I mean, general and federal fund, those supplemental, those
I don't know how many details there are to that summary, but we would have to run each individual report in detail mode.
So that's what you do from month to month? I mean, when we get one that says November 1, we get one that says December 1.
So that's all, you would see the change from the October report to the November report. It's just the summary.
Correct.
In total to date, year to date. So it will show the increase from what you paid in October to what we paid in November.
So right now, there's no way the board, you're saying we know that reporting?
No, not unless we give you a detailed report, which may be thousands of pages, because I don't know each detail that's in there, but it would be a detailed report from every department that has dollars associated with that category.
Okay, and I'm listening to you. You're saying you run thousands of pages between one?
No, I don't run that report. That's what I'm telling you.
The report is run.
Summarize it.
Somebody runs it.
It summarizes it. But
Okay.
to get a detailed report, it would probably be thousands of pages to get the details of what all those expenditures are.
Okay. So that new system comes on board when?
Hopefully late February, to where you can go into that category and start drilling down into.
But it hasn't come on for you?
No, we're still, we got all the data compiled. We've had a couple of training sessions on how to run the Alivu report. But we have some working groups that are still going through the training on the reporting. And then we will also have to get you guys trained on how to go in and drill down on the reports.
Okay, thank you.
So could I get a motion for us to approve the monthly financial report?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the monthly financial report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you. We're now ready for payment of bills.
Madam President.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
No problem.
You know, there's a couple of, I need some understanding. I'll ask for it like that. Help me understand how we have, from time to time, but we have at least two expenditures paid by the credit card on page 38 and 42, about $100,000 worth of for computer equipment. And we have a purchasing operations manual and a purchasing card manual. And in both places, it will say Visa will not be used to purchase furniture or equipment. So, and there's another part that says about anything over 20,000 equipment bid. Help me understand why that $100,000, 57, I think one's 57 and one's 50, let me get you the right number. 57 and 50, 56 and 57.
Right.
Why are those on a credit card?
Right, there are two exceptions to that rule. There's a TIS virtual card, and then there's a purchasing virtual card. And what those are used for is to buy equipment or furniture where we can't obtain them generally from, using a purchase order, or we need them quickly.
Right.
Those are the only two exceptions. A general card holder, like a principal in a school, cannot buy equipment using his or her credit card.
What the technology department.
Okay.
The efficiency audit that was done back, I think it was in 2015 or 16, said that we could gain some.
Yeah, I know that post-audit.
Right.
I know that.
Right.
But this is not the first time that
Right.
we'll see equipment purchases.
You will only see it under two cards. You'll see it under the purchasing virtual card or the TIS virtual card. Those are the only two exceptions. Those are high credit limit cards that we use to buy equipment.
So nothing else will be on that purchase?
I'm sorry?
Nothing else will be on that credit card?
Generally, it's only for equipment and supplies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and furniture.
And I understand what you're saying, but on those two, there were other things on that card, so I'm not understanding that this is consistent with, and please, Madam President, I'm not expecting a micromanaging critique from the board members. I'm trying to understand how the purchasing manual is being followed, if that's the policy, and if it's not the policy, maybe we need to change the policy.
We can update it with more clarification.
Right.
Supplies can also be purchased with the virtual cards, the ones that are used for equipment, things like that. It's just, if we're buying some printers and we're buying some cables as well,
Yeah.
we don't use two different cards. We just use one card
Okay.
just to be more efficient when we're making a purchase.
Then you just corrected what you just said before,
Okay.
right?
Remind-
Said you're-
Oh, yeah, sure.
So you're
Yeah.
saying equipment, furniture, computer equipment can only be paid with this card?
Right.
Then you're saying it can be paid with another
But
card?
you can also buy accessories and peripherals and things like that too, using the virtual card. The virtual card, we won't use two different cards to make a purchase from a single vendor if we're just making one big order.
Right.
Okay, if I'm buying printers and I need cables too, I'll use that same card to buy the supplies and the equipment as well.
But you're familiar with the payment I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Because you had prior knowledge. And you're saying that maybe this was a one-time thing, or?
No, it's not a one-time.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the TIS department will buy equipment using that virtual card.
Uh-huh.
And
that's
it will
what
be
this one
PC
was.
equipment, it could be supplies, it could be anything.
Okay.
As long
Okay.
as it's equipment and supplies and accessories, things
So
like that. PC
you're
related.
also saying that these are consistent from time to time with the policy manual?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I can add more clarification to it if you want to see more specifics in the manual about types of purchases when.
I'm just following what the manual says, and I'm a little,
We can add more detail about the virtual cards.
well, I don't think it's,
If the rule is being followed, we don't need additional information.
and
And board members are.
That's what I'm saying, Dr. Yeager. I'm not sure the way it's reported here that it appears that it's being followed, so.
But the reality is, they said it's being followed, they explained it, and I think maybe after this meeting, there should be an additional meeting with you guys to get additional clarification if a board member wants it. I think that, if one board member wants it, that's different versus the majority of the board members.
It's not one board member, it's whether the policy is being followed. That's all I'm saying. And if it says food cost and others that are on here, this is just not a technology card, ma'am. And this is what I'm saying, that from time to time, there are equipment, hardware, and there's furniture with other stuff. So I understand that perhaps that time you're doing it. I'm just asking if the policy manual says the visa will not be used for equipment, then your staff knows, Dr. Faust, your staff knows that the policy says don't buy things with the visa. Now, if it's a technology card, it's a technology card. But Dr. Yeager, with respect, it's not for Dr. Nguyen, it's for taxpayers of KCK and policy, whether policy is being followed. That's all I'm asking. And I'm looking at a reporting, and perhaps reporting is different. But I'm not questioning whether it's, I'm not saying it's not for me, period. It's for the policy that is written. So thank you, and with respect, and thank you.
But actually, when we stop the meeting to ask questions of if it's a policy and they say it is, then we do sometimes ask questions for personal pleasure rather than going to them prior to the meeting to get clarification.
Wait a minute.
So
I
that.
went to the meeting prior. I asked-
Excuse me, I am speaking.
Yeah, I know you are.
And so therefore, I'm asking that you would wait until I get finished speaking before you jump in and interrupt.
Thank you. Okay, ladies, we have received, you did submit your question,
so thank
and
you
it was,
very much.
it was given, and so therefore, at this point, what we're going to do is I need a motion for us to approve the payment of the bills.
I move we pay our bills.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the payment of the bills. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you. We're now ready to start first with our recess for our executive session. For the first one, I need a motion for the board to recess to executive session at 7:15 for a consultation with the attorney pertaining to special education services, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. And therefore, the board is returned to regular session at,
8 o'clock,
how many?
45 minutes.
In 45 minutes at 8 o'clock, with no action to follow. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we will recess to executive session at 7:15 for a consultation with the attorney on matters which would be deemed privileged in attorney-client relationship under the Kansas Open Meetings Act. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
It's just all here.
I have a motion that we go back into session.
So moved.
Thank you. Dr. Faust? Did you want to? Yeah, did you want to? Okay. We did meet to recess to executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act, and we're going to pull that from our agenda. Could I get a motion, please?
I don't think you need a motion. We've already had the executive session.
Okay.
There's just no action.
No action following that. Okay, thank you.
We didn't vote to return.
Oh, thank you. Could I get a motion that we return to our
Cynthia, I think, moved,
meeting?
and then we didn't do anything.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, thank you, that we return into our session. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. We're back in session. We're now ready to go toward communications, starting first with Dr. Faust.
Good evening, everyone. We have been hitting the ground hard these last couple of weeks. It has been just a pleasure to work with our principals. We've had some celebratory items that were provided for the District 1 a couple weeks ago. We were part of the inaugural Patrick Mahomes Foundation, so the Mahoneys, and our district was selected, and so we received $15,000, and along with 14 other organizations, and so that $15,000 has been, we gave $7,000 to a school, and then $8,000 will be given to high school senior to apply for it. So we're excited. The word is getting out that we are on a move. I was at a conference with one of my colleagues who is in another district about 2.5 hours away. We'll be visiting there this weekend for a conference, and they were asking us, "Now, what are y'all doing?" And I said, "We'll tell you when we get there." So I'm not giving away our secrets. And so that was, it's really good to have individuals ask you, "What are you doing? How is it? How are you moving the district? What are your teachers doing? What are y'all doing?" And it's just, we'll let you know, just watch us, because the goal is for us to be a district to watch. And that's part of the thing that is taking place. And we couldn't do it without individuals that are trusted with our students every single day. And today we had a marathon principals meeting. And I think it was probably one of the best that we've had. It was very much needed, and our students needed it. And so we're going to continue working hard with our principals, so that they're getting the training that they need, along with our teachers. And we have some more good things up our sleeve to move our community forward in the educational realm. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Just want to let everyone know that I had the opportunity to attend the Mahomes Foundation dinner, in which the auction and dinner in which they gave the school the amount of money Dr. Faust has mentioned. On November 14th, I attended Central Middle School. They had a play, which was very enlightening. November the 15th, I had an opportunity to go with Dr. Charles to Bridges and observe in some of the classrooms. On November the 16th, we had the new board orientation that was here in the central office. And then right after that, we went to the opening of the facility for homeless youth on Saturday as well. I went to a meeting for the EOF building that's on 10th and Quindaro, where they were looking at the neighborhoods to be able to see ways in which they can make sure that it was safe for children within the neighborhood. And this was sponsored by Commissioner Gail Townsend that I attended. Since then, I stopped over at New Chelsea. They had a University and College Foundation workshop for the kids, and I had an opportunity to walk around and talk to some of the students. They put up displays about where they plan to go for college and giving information. So they're starting with that at a very good way of doing that. And then on the 22nd, I did go to Quindaro Elementary School when they presented that information, the check to them for the good work that they have done. And so I've just really been trying to do the best I can and be able to listen and learn and find out what our students are doing, as well as being a good board president. And so just would like to encourage everyone to please keep me in mind, and hopefully I'll get where I need to be. Thank you. Anyone else?
Let's see. Went to the annual migrant fair, which was really great to see all the families come out. They had a really good turnout that night. The library was there and other services were there too. Went to the Hmong textile exhibit that they had at the library. That was a really good presentation. It's amazing what libraries do now that they didn't do when I was a kid. The Avenue Youth Home grand opening was very exciting to see all the community turn out to support our kids. The Central Middle play, The Rock of Ages.
Yes.
Oh, that was our music, wasn't it, Maxine?
Yes, it was.
They have another play next week that they've invited us to. Harmon had their market day where their kids, entrepreneurs, had all their different things, and every year it gets better and better. New Chelsea's College Fair was really good. The kids were so excited to talk about their colleges. Banneker had a literacy night. Oh my goodness, that place was packed. All the kids were in their jammies. They had their blankets and stuff, and they were ready to read. The parent turnout was wonderful. And the teachers that day wore pajamas to encourage the kids to come that night. Thought that was a really cute touch. El Centro last week had a Thanksgiving luncheon with their children, which will someday be our children. And that was it was a very good time. Of course, anytime you get little kids up on a stage, you never know what to expect. That's my favorite, are the littlest ones on the stage. I know there's a couple of games I went to, but I can't remember. But the next 3 weeks are going to be chock full of winter programs and sports activities. Tonight, I believe there were 4 different schools having programs with our kids. So look at the fine arts schedule, look at the athletic schedule, and get out and see some of our kids. It will make you very thankful for what you have.
Thank you.
So I too attended the Migrant Festival. It was so good to be able to see our community. You know, that is my heart, that we have a successful community and roundup, to actually get to the heart of what our people want in the community. I also had the opportunity to award the KCK PS On Track Award. You know, we have this hashtag for staff, faculty, students, parents, to be able to use the hashtag and take a picture when they're doing something that represents that they are on track. So it was so rewarding to be able to see the student and their mom and really just give them encouragement. One thing she said is she loves to read, and she wanted to encourage her classmates to take pictures with their families to make reading a fun activity. So that was awesome. I did also attend the Avenue of Life ribbon cutting for their shelter for homeless youth. And so that, Sarah, that building is so nice. It's so beautiful. It's nice that we were able to have some level of partnership to help them provide wraparound support for our youth. So many times there are things that are overlooked in the community. One thing is homelessness. Homelessness is not something that a child ever expects to experience in their life, but they deserve a place to call their own, to be able to sleep there and know that they have resources from the school district and the community and others who are even outside the community to bring back something to us, to themselves. I also was able to just go and visit a couple of schools to see how they were doing. I really appreciate the leadership staff walking me through it or answering the questions that I have, because I see that there are many ways that we are improving in our schools. So I encourage everyone to continue to watch what the school district is doing, especially in our bi-weekly newsletter. In that bi-weekly newsletter, it's able to have it has a lot of information that goes on behind the scenes. Many times we'll hear about the negative things that are happening in our district, but it's important to highlight the positive things that are happening, because although change is slow, change is happening.
Right.
This morning, the community college had its legislative breakfast, and so two of the students who made their presentation were Schlegel graduates, and they are enrolled in the bio-alcoholic tech program that is taking place here at the central office. And so they were very articulate and very, very proud that they had gone to Schlegel and that they were now on that path. And then Dr. Mosier, of course, always sings your praises. And so about, again, the partnership that we will have with the college.
All right. So I'd like to thank each of the board members, and again, we want to encourage us at all times to continue to be visible and seeing what's going on within our schools. With that being said, we are now ready to look at our board calendar. Beginning December the 6th, 7th, and 8th, some of us will be in attendance in Wichita for the KASB convention that is going to take place. Then on December the 11th, there is an MWDBE quarterly meeting and holiday reception. On the 17th, we'll come back for our board meeting. Then on the 19th, there's a legislative breakfast at Turner High School at 7:30 in the morning. And then after that, school will be out for Christmas break until the new year. So with that being said,
Just to bring your attention, I attached the home athletic games is attached down there at the bottom of your calendar.
okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Madam President, I forgot, and Dr. Faust, you already know about this, but that the anti-bullying task force finally gave their report, and they will submit that to the state board on December 10th. But at 6 o'clock on December 10th at the public library will be a panel on bullying.
Okay, good.
So of course, from that, the state board will probably hand out those nice little suggestions that school districts will do.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nguyen. We appreciate that.
Main.
Yes.
25 minutes.
At the main library, is it
Main
correct?
library.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. All right, anyone else with anything? With that, could I get a motion that we adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded that we will adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.